Wonderful.
Wonderful. Hey, Lee. So I've interviewed you in the past about filmmaking, but this time we're talking about film archiving, because why the heck not?
Right, right. I'm into that now.
Yeah, you're into that. So give people some background to this lore. When did you begin to collect film prints?
Oh, did I didn't collect? Well, you know what? Okay, so I worked at the Canadian Film Institute. Okay, let's go back further. In 1977, I moved to Ottawa, and from 1977 to 1980, 81, I lived in the PM. And my best friend, his father was a 16 millimeter nut. And I remember going to his house, but this is before VCRs. TV had like three or four channels, and watching movies at home was a treat. And I would remember watching Rocky a lot with my dad. Rocky was always on TV, or the Poseidon Adventure, the Towering Inferno. But they had commercials, and going to see movies in the theater was special because there was no commercials. Now, when you go see a movie in the theater, it's you have to sit through a half-hour commercials. I can't believe they charge money for that kind of stuff. Anyway, 60 he had 60 millimeter collection, and we used to watch movies at his house. And it was really fun. And I remember he brought home Star Wars once. He had like reels from Star Wars, and we were able to watch it at his house. And it was thrilling because Star Wars wasn't available at home. I guess he was getting a lot of the prints out of the library out in the Nepean. They used to have a 60 millimeter print collection. And then he started a club, and on weekends, we'd go to a church and watch 16 millimeter film prints in a church basement. And they often would show Westerns, a lot of John Wayne films, a lot of the B pictures he made. Maybe I saw Red River in a church basement in the Nepean. I just remember seeing John Wayne movies and other cowboy movies and thought it was really fun because, watching movies without commercial breaks was absolutely thrilling back then. And then I moved to Newfoundland and I came back and I started working in high school at the Canadian Film Institute for Tom McSorley. Tom.
I know Tom.
And in the basement, so the Canadian Film Institute, the offices are still in the Arts Court. And in the basement of the Arts Court, the CFI, Canadian Film Institute, used to have a storage locker, a big one, and it was teeming with 16 millimeter prints. They had crazy movies. They had a lot of Jean-Luc Godard and and a lot of educational movies, car crash things, and gross out education movies. They had this one movie called Safety on the Playground. It looked like it was directed by Sergei Eisenstein, maybe his only color film. It was just this incredible movie about being safe on the playground. It was awesome. Anyway, all these prints stay down there, and I used to watch them. And I actually was working at Carlton too as a film as a projectionist on Show 16. So I fell in love with celluloid. I met Frank Cole from Ottawa, who used to make movies at IFCO. He made the best Ottawa filmmaker of all time, Frank Cole. He was murdered in Africa, 10 years ago. But anyway, he would always talk to me about 16, and I would love watching his movies on 16 millimeter. And he shot with a Bolex at IFCO. Anyway, I was in love with 16, and then Tom McSorley said to me one day, "We have to get rid of our storage locker. We can't afford it anymore. All those prints are now going to go to Montreal." So I loaded up a cube van and
At the
drove.
Cinematheque Quebecois.
No, worse than that.
Oh,
So I loaded up a cube van with Casey Taranjo, who passed, unfortunately, and Ian Driscoll, who wrote Jesus Christ Vampire, and Chris Robinson and I all drove really slow in this cube van because it was full prints. And as we were driving on the highway, it was a swing. And we got we met Serge Luzic, who was like the wealthiest man in Montreal, ran the Toronto, the Montreal Film Festival, and he financed the Canadian Film Institute at the time. And so we were bringing his idea was to get rid of the storage locker to save money. So I was bringing all these prints downstairs in the basement of a church, but it was just underneath the church. You remember, like, there was rocks on the ceiling, and I felt like I was stuffing all these prints into a cave under a church. And I thought to myself, these prints will never see the light of day again. So I made an executive decision, and I started keeping some good ones.
oh
So I
my
made
God.
as we were
Scandalous.
unloading, thank you.
That,
As
yeah.
we were unloading, I made a pile of what I thought was worth keeping.
Okay.
The NFB film Paddle to the Sea, Rail Router with Buster Keaton, the Rail Router Rides Again, the making of the Rail Router, just like incredible films I think about a lot. And I'm glad I kept them. And I still have them. They're at the Mayfair right now. And I'd love to find a good home for them. But that's when I started collecting, when I decided not to throw out the 16 millimeter prints
So
in the
you
basement.
started collecting by any means necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like
Yeah.
I was saving 16. And then the Mayfair became a thing after I made a film called Smash Cut,
Yeah.
my fifth feature film, which I'm very fond of. The Mayfair became available, so I went to the Mayfair, started showing films, and at that time we still had a 35 millimeter projector, and 35 millimeter was still standard. It would slowly change over, but before it changed over, I started finding myself collecting prints. I started realizing that I can't just show any movie. I have to be able to book a movie and only show a movie that when there's a 60 millimeter, 35 millimeter print available. And often some of my favorite films weren't available. I remember showing Duck You Sucker, Sergio Leone's Fistful of Dynamite, because at the time, MGM Canada had a 35 millimeter print, but it was subtitled in French. Showed it and it was great. And then the print was sent back to Europe and I could never show it again. So films are only available if the celluloid was available. Now films are just about everything's available except anything Disney because they put it away because they want you to watch movies on Disney Plus. I found myself certain movies I'm only gonna be able to show them if I find prints. Paul Gordon, my partner at the time, turned uh, forum. It was a 35 millimeter collectors forum, and where collectors, and there wasn't a lot of them in the world, would buy and trade prints with one another. And I started collecting. At one point I had 300 prints, 35 millimeter prints stored at the Mayfair, and I was trading with like great collectors who are still. Harry Guerrero is regarded as one of
How
the.
did you get connected with those people? And did you keep it at a certain like temperature?
No, it's like how do I connect with the people or how did I keep the prints?
Well, I asked two questions, so whichever one you want to answer first, go ahead.
Well, I got to know everyone because if you had something to sell, then you'd hear from the important print collectors, and it was just buying and trading and trading. I got friendly with everyone, and I started trading with the Quentin Tarantino's
Oh,
collection, and I remember lending him a print of Hooper, the Hal Hartley movie, and the Hal Hartley, Jesus Christ.
I'll need them.
Hal Needham, thank you, Hal Hartley did not direct Burt Reynolds and Hooper. The print came back to me with a poster signed by Hal
Need them. Yeah.
Needham, which was great, which was exciting, and I liked lending movies to
So
Tarantino.
I was there when you played Hooper at the Mayfair, and so that
Yeah,
was Quentin Tarantino's print.
no, that's my print that he borrowed.
And I saw Hooper at the New Beverly, which is Quentin Tarantino's theater on celluloid. Was
That's
that your print?
yes,
Okay,
yes,
that's
that was
funny.
my,
Because
and that came
the guy selling popcorn was being a real smart aleck and said, "You bet you never see this in 35 millimeter." And I said,
and my
"Actually,
friend
I have."
owns it. Good,
But
very
now I
good.
know more about there's more lore. It's beautiful.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, it was fun collecting, and I've turned other people on in Ottawa to collecting. Our projections at the Mayfair collects 35 millimeter. My friend Adam and his friend Heath collect, and they have a warehouse, a private cinema in Gatineau, and they show wild movies. And yeah, it's kind of a fun passion, but takes up a lot of room and it doesn't always smell great because if a print starts decaying, it starts smelling like vinegar. So where did I store them to answer your other question? Just behind the screen or underneath the projection booth. I didn't really have a good place for them. So that's why I ended up eventually donating most of them. I have about a dozen I kept, but I donated and sold most of my whole collection. I
Groovy.
just acquired John Wayne's the War Wagon, which you came to see. But by and large, most of my print collection is away, and the stuff I have, I can't really show. Like I have this gorgeous 35 millimeter print of Who Framed Roger Rabbit that I can't book because Disney fucking owns it. Sorry, I just swore. I told you not to swear.
Yeah, you told
Anyway.
me not to say hell. You dropped an F-bombs. But that's okay. Tell me about working with the Criterion Collection. I think people will find that pretty cool.
Yeah, Criterion. There's two disc release with where I got a special thanks. The Bitch, Renoir's The Bitch has a special thanks to Demarbre because they shot the supplement. So one of the film Jean Renoir scholars in North America is a professor at Carleton and wanted to interview him, and he chose the Mayfair as a backdrop. So he shot there for a whole afternoon, and it was really nice. I just listened to him
Who was
go
it?
on
Which
and on.
professor?
Charles Faulkner.
Charles. Oh, okay.
Faulkner. I don't think he's there anymore, but he's incredibly knowledgeable. He's got an incredible brain on him.
So
And,
okay, they used the Mayfair to film a supplement. I thought they used your prints like as a source.
well, that's the first. The second time I got a thanks on a Criterion release was for the box set, the Jet Li box set of the Once Upon a Time in China movies. Part three, they used they used my print of Once Upon a Time in China Part Three, and a friend of mine in that
Whoa.
movie. My friend Bruce Stevens. Bruce Stevenson? Yeah. He used to work at the Bytown Cinema and he went to Hong Kong when they were filming that movie. And they said, "Hey, Guaylo." They'd pull white people off the streets to get them to play villains or have him in an extra scene. So he's in a scene where he's getting off a boat in that movie, which I had a 35 millimeter print of, which now Criterion has on their disc. And I just gave a print. I had another print. I only have a small print collection left, but I just lent out my print of Inframan, and it's going to Arrow, and Arrow's putting out a nice Blu-ray, and that's thanks to me.
Well, thank you, Lee.
Oh, you're very welcome. These movies wouldn't exist if it wasn't for me. See, I dab. I'm so cool, I dab.
Okay. And so you got two prints, two Blu-rays are partially or largely responsible to you.
Criterion.
So criteria, you're right. We've got a Criterion and we've got an Arrow.
Yes.
Any other ones?
Well, I mean, they're my movies. I have, you know what? The National Art, oh, sorry, the Library and Archives of Canada
Yeah.
just came to my house on Monday and picked up all my negatives, all my A and B roll negatives for Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter, Harry Knuckles and Treasure of the Aztec Mummy, Harry Knuckles and the Pearl Necklace, and the DCPs for all my digital work. So everything I've ever shot, all 8 feature films and all the shorts are now at the National Archives of Canada. And stuff I shot in high school, they took.
Well, heck, they should do something with it. They should curate a little exhibit for your legacy, don't you think?
Well, I think the main thing about it, I mean, well, I'm thrilled about it, is not. I don't really need anyone to have a Liedermarb exhibit. I,
Why not?
I'm
That's a fun
thrilled.
idea.
I just, what I'm thrilled about is that if tomorrow I fell down the stairs, my films will survive. Like my films will now live longer than me. My grandkids, because my kids don't give a shit, but my grandkids, I think, oh, I want to see Grandpa Lee's films.
Right.
Oh, Enter the Dragon. That sounds fun. And they can go to the Library of Archives and find it.
What age should they watch it at, do you think? Your movies.
Well, there's kids in the movie. Well, you know what? I don't know. I have a lot of violence and a lot of, sexuality, but none of it is. It's all very wholesome. It's none of it, I think, is vulgar. And I don't know. I don't know if I put too much of an age. If they watch it with me, I'll make it seem fun and cool. I think kids should watch it alone, any of my movies alone. But if they watch it with an adult, I think they'll be okay. Adult accompaniment, that's what I'd suggest. You
At
know
what
what?
age, though? What do they start? Sorry, I'm being a prude for some reason. I'm just
I
curious.
know it's okay. Maybe 12.
Yeah.
That's when I started getting the horror movies. I remember when I saw Creepshow for the first time.
Ooh.
And I was like, and I hid behind a pillow and watched it and screamed with my friend. And it was like being on a roller coaster. We were having so much fun, and that just started it all. And then it was like, more horror, please. I mean, I saw Alien in the theater when I was young, when I was 6.
Mhm.
And I saw 6. No, I was 7 when I saw Alien at the drive-in, and I saw Night of the Comet, and I saw Aliens, and there's a few horror movies I saw when I was young, but Creepshow got me into the love of being afraid. I saw Jaws in the theater and it freaked me out. and I wasn't enjoying it because I was so afraid. But Creepshow was the first time I enjoyed being afraid, and
Nice.
yeah, and sort of got a lot of pleasure from knowing that, finding fear.
Tell me about this Quebec club. Is that like kind of closed doors? Should we not talk about that?
Yeah, it's kind of it is. It's
Yeah.
these two guys. One guy I met, he at the Mayfair, and I showed him my print collection, and I saw him years later. It's like, Lee, I started a print collection, and they have posters, and they've got great prints, and they have this great space on a farmland, and it is completely closed. They don't. It's just for them. And
Oh,
I'm invited. I've seen pictures, but I'm supposed to go. I was supposed to go last weekend. I couldn't get away, but I'm gonna go. Well, I actually gave him a lot of my 16 millimeter prints too. And yeah, it's a really cool space, and they've got posters framed on the walls that I couldn't hang at the Mayfair because they don't, if I hung, I just got a triple X poster collection.
nice.
I got 25 vintage one sheets from from the 70s of triple X movies, and their art is gorgeous, but I wouldn't have the balls to hang them at the Mayfair. But
You'd
this is a
probably hear about
space.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
From some
Yeah,
of these first year Carleton students.
I love showing them off. They're beautiful posters, but I would never hang them.
Do you have corruption?
Corruption? A poster?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I like some of these posters, like Seika movies and John Holmes, and like really good stuff. Really cool. The artwork is the guy gave them to me. He's like, yeah, look at the artwork. They're amazing and really racy too. Some of them are like I can't even mention to you on
You
some
have
of them
Sex World?
I do. I
I love
do.
Sex World.
There's one poster I wouldn't have the balls to even tell you about on Zoom. The tagline and the title and the image and it's not there's no nudity. It's just like this really racy movie that came out. I'm like, oh, anyway, it
You
makes me
tell me off
laugh.
the record. I
Yeah. Oh, I will. Certainly will.
love it. I love it. So, how much are these prints? What's the price range, let's say?
That's a good question. I mean, I've spent $1,000 on a print,
Whoa.
but I've spent
For which print?
Roger Rabbit,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
and I spent $50 on a print, $100. The average is about two.
Oh,
Yeah, and I actually talk people into buying prints. I talked to a guy, one of the hosts at CKCU FM. He bought two prints, and then I ended up buying them from him. I talked to him to buy him Dark Crystal, and his boot or something, and then he bought them, and then I showed him to him. I bought it from him.
ooh. Good stuff. Good stuff. Solid motives there. How many collectors do you think there are in Canada?
In
Is that hard to
Canada?
answer though?
No, I know three in Ottawa. So I think a lot of these people are on the down low. You're not really supposed to. So I am a program at the Mayfair Theater, and we're a commercial theater. And I have a print of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I can't just show that. And if I do, they're going to take away my commercial license to show movies. So a lot of and it's not it's technically I'm not supposed to own it. Disney could watch your little video of your interview with me and love it up until the point I tell you that I have a 35 millimeter print of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. They could seize it if they want.
But I'll
So
say you were just making it up.
they can come get it. If they really want it, Disney, come get me. I'm just saying a lot of print collectors don't show off their prints because their prints can be seized by the studios. I know a guy in Montreal who has tons and tons of Hong Kong action movies. He has The Killer and Hard Boiled, and he never lends them out because he doesn't want anyone to be seized. And I know a guy in Montreal too who had a grand collection, bigger than anyone I knew out in Canada, and he donated all of his prints to Concordia. Concordia has an incredible 35 millimeter print collection. They have Salo. They've
Okay.
got
Okay.
Apocalypse Now on 16 millimeter before Hearts of Darkness came out that had an alternate ending, and it had stuff in it that's not in Hearts of Darkness, like really incredible print. You can't get them out of Concordia anymore, but we used to show them in CFI. I remember
Oh,
watching Apocalypse Now at the CFI in six. We showed Apocalypse Now 16 millimeter, and I'm sitting there, waiting for my shift to end because I'd seen the movie so many times.
yeah.
And then when it ends, the island blows up,
Oh
and
wow.
there's a montage of the explosion. I'm like, what the? And I was freaking out. I said, Tom, we got to re-show this and advertise alternate ending.
That's funny. That's great.
Yeah.
And does
Yeah.
CFI, do they show 1635 in Ottawa around here anymore?
They can. The arts court upstairs, there's a new space that can show 1635 and 70 millimeter. But I think they're always renting out that space to weddings and stuff. I think CFI does, they're still doing screenings, but I don't know the last time they showed 35. It's tough, right? Projectionists aren't they're none of them are gonna just come show it to you for free. They charge, and it's not, in
People really
shipping the
care.
print. Huh?
People don't really seem to care.
That's right. You care,
I
but there's
care.
only,
We care. We're talking about this. Clearly,
but
we
there's unfortunately there's only one Mike O'Keefe. You know,
care.
I need 100 Mike O'Keefes to make it worthwhile. There's a few people when we showed War Wagon with Kurt Douglas and John Wayne a week ago. There
Yeah.
was people there I knew who would be there because they love it, and the people who were there, if we showed 2001 and 35, they would be there. But that's it. That was the maximum amount of people who cared, like a couple of dozen.
People like don't see they say I had a Prophet Carlton say like it makes no difference. Like actually it makes no difference.
Blasphemy.
He said he would watch shows like he would record stuff on his VCR and it's like the same thing. And I said to him, would you feel comfortable taking those VHS and blowing it up in front of a big screen in front of an audience? And then he had nothing to say.
Yeah, that he should
This
have
is
his
kind of where people are at often.
he should have his license revoked to be an educator.
Thankfully, he doesn't teach here anymore.
Yeah, thankfully. I
Yeah.
mean, it's incredible. 16.
He
So
taught
I
silent film, and he
so
said that.
old movies aren't old anymore. Old movies are being restored now, and they're getting 2 and 4K restorations. And old movies are more thrilling now to watch on a big screen at home or in a theater if you're lucky, because they look like they were shot yesterday. Aside from them being in black and white, they look like they were shot yesterday. It's incredible. Obviously that professor doesn't leave his house to go see movies. I mean, I can't watch DVDs anymore. If I find out from a friend, I ask, if my friend said, "Hey, my kids and I watched, The Searchers," and like, "What did you watch it on?" I always ask, "What did you watch it?" They tell me a DVD. It's like that's not even watching it at all. Standard definition to me it's so beneath me. I can't do it. I can't. I have DVDs still, but I can't watch them. I have a few things because I can't get. They're not on Blu-ray yet. But I'd rather download a 1080p MK4 from any movie than watch a DVD. You
And
know,
people should understand, like from a heritage point of view, digital files are not as reliable as film stock. Film
uh,
stock, you put it up on a shelf, you're good to go.
yeah,
Good to
yeah,
go. You have these files, and are you going to transfer everything all the time from these computers? No, you're going to forget some things, and then they're left to just die forever.
and new
So
shows,
even if you
new,
can't tell the difference, there are reasons to care about this topic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Everyone's watching streaming now, but they don't get it. Yeah, I'm watching streaming with friends or family, and there's all this artifacting on the screen, and I just can't even look at it. I can't even look, and everyone's just like eating their popcorn, like there's nothing, there's no difference. And it bothers me that people can look at crap and think it looks like just as good as anything else. People don't know what they're looking at, they don't appreciate it. This doesn't help, you know.
Right. It doesn't
The,
help.
the appreciation of moving an all-time low. Just when home video is at an all-time best, the appreciation of good-looking images at an all-time low. All-time low. It's unfortunate. I'm glad there's people like you who will gush over a good-looking image, a good-looking old image.
Oh yeah.
That Frank Capra box set that just came out on most of those films are in 4K. Like it's insane. It's insane. It's the closest we'll ever get to time travel. I don't know if you ever seen that John Wayne movie that Raoul Walsh directed, The Big Trail. The Big Trail was shot in 1930 on a 70 millimeter camera, 20 years before people used 70 millimeter. That Blu-ray is just about the most important It's just the most marvelous moving image I've ever seen because it's old as hell and it looks like it was shot yesterday. It's a big CinemaScope movie. It's not CinemaScope. It's shot on 70 millimeter, but the aspect ratio is like CinemaScope. That thing just floors me. I watched that with my friends during the pandemic at the Mayfair. I had a few friends in, and we watched that. I mean, the moving image, an old image that's been scanned in HD, nothing beats it. It's like time travel. Like it's like the closest we'll ever get to looking at the past now. And imagine these movies. Imagine movies being shot today in HD. How what's going to look 2,000 years from now? People are going to be amazed to look at things from 2025, 4K, 2,000 years from now. Like we can't look back 200 years. We can't look back in 200 years at all at a moving image. So it's moving image is really important, and I hope people start appreciating it.
I hope so too. How does okay? Sorry. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we covered everything. My questions. It's
Wait, you have to go
basically
take a shit?
Lee. I want to thank you. Is there a final thought you would like to end this interview with?
Well, I keep pushing this notion that old movies aren't old. Don't think like it's my heart sinks when I tell my wife, "Hey, let's watch a Natalie Wood movie or Maureen O'Hara or something." And I'm trying to get her interested in maybe an actress she might be interested in, and she doesn't want to watch anything old, and it just makes my heart sink. And most people are like that. You talk to kids today; they don't want to watch anything from 2024. I want to watch something now. It's funny that we're fascinated and we only want to watch new movies. I don't really get it. People, you know what it is? People want to talk. They want to go to work the next day and talk about what was everyone's watching. You know, people need to appreciate that the old movies aren't old anymore. They look just as good as movies shot today. Actually, they look better. They look 35. A movie shot on 35 on 70 millimeter, 1930 looks better today on Blu-ray than Dune 2.
And to the water cooler crowd that you're sort of referring to,
Yes,
there's
yes,
no more dominant culture. No
yeah,
one watches the movies nominated for the Oscar anymore.
yeah.
Nobody cares. People like OnlyFans and the upcoming race war, So you might
Yeah,
as
it's
well
true.
watch old movies.
True. It's like
It's gonna make you
porno.
cooler.
Yeah, it does. It does. Everything makes you cooler. No, but it's true. Like it's like everyone's watching the same porn. Like it doesn't matter how good it looks, how good it is. If as long as it's new, we'll watch it.
Don't listen to the OnlyFans girls. Why collect film prints?
Yes, yes, yes. 35 millimeters more important than your boner. I
All right,
guess.
thank you so much, Lee.
Thank you very much. I had a good time.
Yeah.
No, go enjoy your